Today we are going to learn about lesson 3-3. This lesson is about percents greater than 100. We've been learning a lot about decimals, but we're also going to spend time learning about percents in this topic. Now, this topic is, like I said, about percents greater than 100. Those are not typical percents. So we're kind of branching out with our knowledge, and this lesson is expecting that you already know quite a bit about percents. So let's go over some things. First off, what is a percent? How do you find your percent? Think about when you take a test and you get your score back. How do you figure out what percent you got correct? Hopefully you're thinking that you need to know how many you got right, and you need to know the total number of questions. A percent is always a part, out of, or divided by a whole. There are different ways that we can write percents. Maybe we can say 17%, but we can also write that in fraction form. Percents are always out of 100, so we can write 17 out of 100, or 17 over 100. That fraction is in simplest form, so we would leave it like that. We can even write percents as decimals. This says 17 hundredths. Well, the hundredths place is where we would set our 17. 17 hundredths. This decimal is also worth 17%. Today we're going to be working with percents that are greater than 100. So it may even be the case that we have a percent like 134. We would still write it as 134 out of 100 because percents are always spaced back to 100. And as a decimal, well, you always slide it twice, like 17% is 0.17. 134% would be 1.34. You can even go backwards. Moving the decimal the other way gives you 17%, 134%. This is usually something that students are pretty familiar with already, though. Alright, well, we also have this thing that we use a lot whenever we talk about percents. It's called the percent equation. It's based back to the percent definition, like what it is. If we were to take this equation, percent equals part divided by whole, and multiply both sides by the whole, part times whole divided by whole is really just the part. The wholes cancel out, and we see what we call the percent equation. Whole times percent equals part. Or if we write it the other way, part is equal to the percent times the whole. This is called the percent equation, and it can be used to help you solve questions involving percents. Alright, well, we can also use something called a percent proportion to help us solve percent equations. Again, it's based back to the definition of a percent. A percent is a part over a whole. Well, percent is always out of 100, and it's always the part divided by the whole. This is a proportion rather than an equation. And you can cross multiply to solve for missing parts, and you can use this to solve percent questions. Whenever you start working with different percent questions, you want to kind of be able to identify different key words. If you have a question asking you something about percents, you can identify which number is the part by looking for the keyword is. If you are trying to solve a percent question and you see the word of, that would indicate that you're looking at the whole. Now this will all make a lot more sense as we try some examples. But first, let's also look at what it even means to have a percent greater than 100. If we talk about 100% of something, we mean all of it. 100% of a population of bugs would be the whole group of bugs. So 100% is the whole thing, or all of it. I gave you a place to make a note. 100% of a whole is the whole. It's all of it. 200% of the whole would be twice what you started with, or 2 times the whole. Two times the whole. And you can continue. 300% is 3 times the whole. 400% would be 4 times the whole. If you had 475%, well, you have more than 4 times the whole, but less than 5 times the whole. Close to 5 times the whole, because 475% is almost 500%. Okay, so if we have 200% of 1, 200% of 1 is like having twice 1, or having 1 2 times. Would that be less than 10, greater than 10, and less than 100, or greater than 100? 200% of 1 is just 2. That's definitely less than 10. Go ahead and try and see if you can determine the others. Is the amount really small, kind of in the middle, or really big? Pause the video, see what you think for each one, and then play the video to check your answers. Here we can see the results. We have 2 that are less than 10. 200% of 1 is 2 times 1, which is 2. 300% of 2 is 3 times 2, which is 6. 125% of 25. Well, let's see. 200% of 25 is 2 times 25, or 50. So 125% has to be less than 50. This would give you a result of greater than 10, but less than 100. Here's another middle value. Greater than 10, but less than 100. 700% of 5. That's 7 times 5, or 35. And then we have some problems that give us an answer that's greater than 100. 200% of 75 would be twice 75, which is definitely greater than 100. 400% of 26 would be 4 times 26, which would again be greater than 100. 125% of 100 would be greater than 1 times 100, so it's definitely greater than 100. 10,000% of 15 is like 10 100%. 10 times 15, which is 150, and that also would be greater than 100. Alright, here's another one for you to try. Now that you're getting the hang of it, pause the video, make your choice, and then play the video to see if you made the correct choice. Okay, 350% of 20. Alright, we've got smaller like ranges here, so we got to get pretty specific. Here's how I kind of like to think about this. Well, what's 100% of 20? That would be the whole thing, 20. What's 100% of 20? Again, the whole thing, 20. What's 100% of 20? The whole thing, 20. What is 50% of 20? That would just be half of it, 10. So if we add all this up, this is 350% of 20 would be exactly 70. So our choice should be Choice 3, greater than 50 but less than 100. Student A says that 200% of 1 is 2, and student B says that 200% of 1 is 200. Which student is correct? Explain. Try it out, pause the video, and then play whenever you're ready to see the answer. Well, 100% of 1 would be the whole thing, 1. 100% of 1 again would be 1. So 200% of 1 is 2. Student A would be correct. Now that we've got an idea of what it means to have a percent greater than 100, basically saying that we're making our numbers bigger than what we start with, we're going to start to do some problems involving percents that are greater than 100. Here's an example of using the percent equation. Back at the beginning of our notes, we made some notes about percents. We wrote down the percent equation. We're going to be using that today. We also wrote down the percent proportion. That's another way to solve the same kind of questions, just a different method. And I had you write down some key words. Is for the part, of for the whole. The word is will help you identify which number is the part, and the word of will help you identify which number is the whole. Okay, so let's look at our question here. Okay, this question says, what is 130% of 800? 130% is our percent. What is? We don't know the part. Is would indicate the part, but we don't know it. Of 800. Of is by the number 800, so 800 must be our whole. Is a keyword for the part. Of is a keyword for the whole. In this case, we don't know the part. That's the question. We do know the whole. It's 800. So I would write 130% times 800, and that can help me find the part, according to the percent equation. Well, here's the thing. Whenever we use 130% in an equation like this and we're about to multiply, you can't just use 130. You either have to use the fraction form of 130% or the decimal form of 130%. In this example, they used a fraction. 130% would be 130 over 100. Take that times 800, you get 1,040. If you'd rather, you can use the decimal form of 130%. So we'd start with our equation, part equals percent times whole. In this case, we're looking for the part. You can place a variable there if you'd like. We know the percent is 130%, so if we want to use the decimal form, well, move that decimal twice. Right now it's behind the 130, it's hiding. Move it twice. 1.30 is the same as 130%. Multiply that by the whole, which we said was 800. You can even use a calculator at this point. 1.3 times 800 . Whoa. Whoa. Okay, hold on. Okay, we're back in action. Sorry about that. 1.3 times 800 would give us 1,040 as well. So whether you would like to use the fraction form of 130% or the decimal form of 130%, you should get the same answer. Okay, so let's try out some practice with this. Go ahead and switch over to part 2 of this lesson.